And we are live. All right. So, I don't know if anybody's joined us yet, though. But anyway, we are just got played, and we just finished playing a whole bunch of games at the Dice Tower Convention here in Orlando, Florida. Well, I say here. That's where I am, anyway. Uh, and we were all there for, well, I guess a varying amount of days, too. I was there for 4 days. So some of you all went earlier than I did. But yeah, we're just going to talk about the games that we played that we really liked, games we were disappointed in, things that surprised us, and I'm going to pull up my list here. But before we get to that, I was just going to go around, if you have the stats handy anyway. I was just going to say, I was there for 4 days, and I played 36 different game sessions. And in those sessions, it was 31 different games. So 6 of those games were games I had played before I came to the con. But 25 of those were new games to me. So I got to play 25 new games at the con, which, to be honest, is what I mainly go for. I'm going to play games that I don't have access to, that I'm thinking about buying, that just have interested me for some reason. So, all right.
Wouldn't it be 31 and a half since we almost played Caesar?
Yeah, well, I counted that because I played it enough.
Yeah.
I played it enough to know what I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Erock, do you have any stats for us?
I played, and I'm pretty sure Babe's stats are pretty much going to line up because we almost spent the entire week together, sometimes with Jacoby, our 13-year-old. We got a lot of play out of Jacoby. I was kind of pleasantly surprised how much we actually did get out of Jacoby because I figured he was going to spend a lot of time playing on his video games, which he did. But we got, 2-3 games a day. So that was cool. We asked him if he was coming back next year, and he said maybe, which is about as positive as a 13-year-old gets. So I think all that went well. But I got us down for 26 unique games. Some of those we played more than once, but 26 different games. To be fair, just to put it in perspective, we got there Monday afternoon at 2:30, loaded up everything into the rooms, went shopping for a bit. So we didn't actually start playing until maybe 8 or 9 o'clock Monday night. And then it was pretty much game on until Sunday. I got probably one more game than Babe does because I had to drop her off at the airport so she could fly up to her gig in D.C. Sunday morning. But I came back to the con and played one last game with actually JJ. I thought he was going to be here to talk with us, but apparently he has other things to do. But that is my stats for the week. 26 unique games.
How about you, John? Do you have any stats for us?
No, unfortunately, I don't keep stats, but you and I played probably 28 of those 31 games together. So your and I's stats are going to look very, very similar. We ended up spending a lot of time playing games together. So I would say probably the 3 that you played without me, I probably played 3 with other people that were new. So pretty much the same as yours. I got a lot of new games in, everything from 20-year-old rolling rights to brand new games that have just come out. So it was quite the different, the variety of games that I tried out during the con.
Yeah. Tiffany, anything you want to add to that?
So all I know is I averaged about 4 to 6 games a day. Most of those were new to me games. I only played, I think, 3 games that I had played previously. The vast majority of the games that I played were new to me. And yeah, so that, like, I just kept my daily list, and it was 4 to 6. 4 was on my low intro days, and I think I might have actually gotten up to 7 on one day, 7 games, but yeah, around there.
I played with a lot of the crew. We all played games together. I played with Patrick and Little Eric and Brian. JJ was there, but I don't think I played a game with JJ though. Like every time he came by, I was in a game, and then every time I walked by him, he was in a game. And it seemed like he was playing longer, heavier games too. So he would just be in something for hours. So yeah. Anyway, but it's good times. All right. So let's start. Why don't we start on a positive note, right? Let's talk about our best games. And I narrowed it down to 3. Really 2, and then maybe an honorable mention. I haven't decided yet which of these two was my best game of the con, and one of them is not very
Well, it's
new.
time to decide. Pick it.
No, I'm not going to. But I played this with Erock and Tiffany. Right there at the top of my list is Habitats. So
Nice.
it's funny because you talk about Nova Luna and I just fall asleep. But Habitats actually is pretty interesting. I mean, I like the puzzle, moving the Jeep around, claiming your stuff, fitting it in the the puzzle. I mostly ignored the sort of public goals for each round, just trying to achieve whatever my animals set on them to try to score them. Although I did in the course score some points from those things anyway. In fact, one of them I think I even won it. But yeah, I really liked that puzzly aspect. They had the wooden meeple set that's extra that All Play has. That was in the box. That was neat. So when you complete one, you find the right animal and stick it on the thing, and that made it look just extra cool. But I like puzzly games like that. And so yeah, that was really high on my list. And then right up there with it is this game called Orichalcum. So I had gone down in the morning, and I think none of you all were down yet, and I was just sitting at I had just walked in the library, sort of looking around, and Z Garcia walks in and starts talking to me because I know Z, and he's like, well, let's play a game. I'm like, what do you want to play? And I threw some stuff out, and he's like, nah. He threw something out like Abyss, and I'm like, yeah. And
He picked a Bruno game.
yeah, and then I just look over, and then I'm like, oh, Orichalcum. I mean, it wasn't on my list, but it was a game that I've wanted to play. I was like, well, how about that? He's like, sure. So we grabbed the players you wanted sign and the game, and sat down, and then almost immediately two people show up, right? Because that's the great thing about these cons. And so the four of us play, and I mean, I liked it. It's pretty simple, you draft a thing on your turn, and you get a tile that you have to fit on your map, and maybe a monster that goes with it, and then you get whatever the corresponding action is to that tile that you drafted, and so you can build something, or you can get you can produce hoplites, or you can produce, I guess it's Orichalcum is the thing you're producing. I don't know what Orichalcum is.
It is.
Yeah. So, or you can produce that, and then if you want, you could spend 2 of your hoplites or 2 of your Orichalcum to take like an extra action, And they're like I said, they're these monsters. So there's the thing where you sort of push your luck in fighting the monsters because you have to roll dice, but the number of hoplites you send dictates how much how many dice you get to roll. And then there's these power ups. So everybody starts out the same, but it gets asymmetric pretty quick as you buy these different power ups and you buy these different buildings, and you collect these gods by building terrain, 3 sets of terrain together. And it's not like point salad either. It's just first 1 to 5 points wins, right? You can buy a point, you can build a point, or you can have at least one, god favor of the god point or whatever. So yeah, I mean, it's really simple, but it's still strategically interesting, and it's fast. Yeah, I don't know. Really enjoyed that. So
to try that. I like the race to a point number kind of end games. What's like that? Oh, Dune Imperium's like that. Space Pace.
Well,
yeah.
Dune
Imperium
isn't exactly. Dune Imperium, you race to end the game, and then you add up points. This is just like a finish line. You get the 5th point, you win. And that if you had one more turn than somebody else, well, too bad for them. Scythe is like that too.
Oh, like Nova Luna.
Oh. Oh, sorry. I was falling asleep there. I don't know what's going on. But
Or like Napa Luna.
yeah. And all right, so my John, maybe this will be on John's list for best games, but my honorable mention is Thunder Road Vendetta. So we had the Maximum Chrome edition from the library, but we just played the base game, and it's just stupid fun. Just beat each other up, smack each other, shoot each other. I mean, there is a race there, and you can win by winning the race, and I think in every game I saw of it, somebody won by winning the race, but it was really just about killing, blowing up each other's cars. So, and that is fun, and I'm thinking about getting that to play with my kids. So, in fact, of all the games, that might be the first one I acquire. So that gets the honorable mention from me. All right, John, what are your best games?
So this is gonna be a weird one. I'm not even sure the name of this game because it's German and I'm not gonna try to butcher it.
Oh, I know it.
But yes, But it translates to supposedly That's Life. That's the American version, even though it's like impossible to find anymore in the American version, from what I can tell. But it's
Verflixt.
Reflect. There you go. I'm gonna take your word for that. But it's literally a roll and move. And to make best game list, like I would have never. If you told me that was gonna be on my list at the end of the con, I'm like, you're crazy. There's no way. But it's a roll and move game that's got a bunch of strategy to it and a bunch of interaction. And for a roll and move game, that's just unheard of. So to me, it's not my favorite game of all time, especially because it is a roll and move. But to show what you can do with that format, where you can actually make it strategic and interactive and not just you land on someone and send them home, sorry, there's a lot of different things you can do and a lot of moves you can make. So to me, this just hands down easily the best roll and move that I've ever seen. So I thought that deserved to be in the top of the list because it really surprised me. And the box, I mean, it's from like 1996 or something. It's in an old box with old graphics, and the pictures on it look like comic book pictures from the mid 90s, or comic books or comics from the newspaper. None of it is appealing on paper, but when you play the game, it's just so fun and interactive, and just such a cool use of the roll and move mechanic that I now feel you could actually do something with a roll and move and modernize it simply because of that game. So that's second on my list for that reason. Had a blast with that. Wish I got to play it a second time.
Yeah. I just got to say, if you watched our What Are We Most Looking Forward To, I had a shout out for that game where I was like, I like to play these little fillers because you look at it on paper and you're just like, I don't know. You got to play it to know if it's any good. So we played it and it's good.
Absolutely. And my favorite game, as you succinctly called it, is Thunder Road Vendetta. I think this easily stole the con for me. I ended up playing it twice and teaching it twice, and it's just so much fun. Nobody showed it to, nobody I saw as I walked by and looked at the board was having a dull moment. The entire time is fun. It's frenetic, chaotic. All this stuff's going on. And like you said, you're just running around trying to blow up each other's cars, which sounds silly, but it too is another game that Restoration Games took from a long time ago. It's a really, really old game, and they updated it to modern sensibilities, but kept that core theme and feel of the game and just updated it. So not only is Restoration Games killing it by just taking all these older games and really making them for a modern audience, but both of those games show you that like you can't just ignore a mechanic and say, "Oh, it's a roll and move. That's dumb. I'll never enjoy it." It's an old game where you're just moving cars. That can never be fun. Try games out. Try things that you don't think will be interesting. At the very least, it gives you ideas and thoughts of like, "Oh, that's different than I expected." But those two games with just random chaotic fun were the games of the con for me, and they're the ones I'll probably remember years down the road. And before I left the con, I actually purchased Thunder Road Vendetta, and that's the only game I even considered buying. Got it right out of the bat. So, absolutely both great games. I'd recommend both of them. And if you haven't played Thunder Road yet, you are absolutely missing out. Give it a try.
Yeah, and the other thing about Thunder Road, like, there's the Maximum Chrome edition out there. That's not, going into normal stores. Some stores may have it if they back the Kickstarter. They are going to have extra copies soon on their website, Restoration Games, for like $145. But, like, don't be put off by that. I mean, what'd you pay for it? $40 for the retail version?
It was like $43, and the retail version is slimmer. It fits on the shelf better. And all those games I was talking about, those are all base games because I don't like putting expansions in with a game I've never played before. So those are all the base game versions. Nothing we played with is not included in that base retail box. Very affordable, easy to get. It's still available and has everything in it that you would want. The other stuff's extra fun and cool, and I wish I had some of that stuff. The old Kickstarter envy, but even without that, it's still absolutely a solid game worth owning.
Yeah, we'll talk about playing a game with the expansion included here in a little while, but
We sure will.
but first, I want to hear what are Tiffany's favorite games from the con.
All right. So my first favorite game that I played was So Clover, and that is a word game. I picked it because Jacoby, our son, loves word games, and so it seemed like a natural one. It was, I think, a nominee for the Spiel des Jahres, I think, or what one of those. So so that's where we heard about it, and that was on my 2 playlist. I got to play it with Jacoby. I didn't know how it was going because we played with some people we didn't know, and I was a little afraid that he would be too shy to speak up and advocate for his opinions. Basically, what you do, you get a plastic clover, a 4-leaf clover, and it's got 4 little pegs on it. And you get these 4 round, square shaped cards, and they fit over those pegs. And you just randomly place the cards, and that presents you with 4 pairs of words. And so they're just randomly placed, and it pairs these words. And so you might get 2 words. For instance, I had a combination. One of the words was doll, and the other one was face. And so I came up with the word porcelain for that particular combo of words. And so you get these 4 combos of words, and you come up with just one word because it's from the same company that made just one. You put just one word that links those 2 in some way. You do that for all 4 pairs. Then you pull off those randomizer cards. You add a 5th in there to be a distractor, mix them all together, and hand your clover to the group and watch them try to piece out which card goes where in what orientation. And so once they come up with their first guess, they hand it to you, and you remove the ones that are wrong and give it back to them. And they have one more try to place the cards in the right place. Much like just one, the scoring is one. It's like a co-op. So, the scoring is you take the number of points and then you see how you rate it on their scale at the end of the game. So it's really just a fun activity with points, but I really enjoyed that. Jacoby enjoyed it. That's really the only game that I'm raring to go out and buy from the con, was So Clover. So
that game is great though. The pitfall, like when you play it, is like you see, you're like doll, face, porcelain, perfect, and then you don't realize, or it comes up on the 5th tile, there's like toilet or something,
Right.
And so as soon as you hear the group discussing, because they're trying to put it together, they're like, oh, toilet, that has to be porcelain, and you're like, oh no.
We had one of the guys that we played with. Of the words that he wrote religion, and then he wrote church. And one of the cards had the word religion on it. So we were like, well, he obviously wouldn't have wrote religion for religion. So religion's got to go with church. So we based everything off of that, put it all together. Turns out religion wasn't even one of the words. That was the distractor card that just happened to match his word. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. That's definitely like the one that I'm itching to go buy. So Clover. And then my other game of the con, one of my favorite experiences was we got to play Blood on the Clocktower. And that we played with, I think, 14 people, and Mandy, who ran it for us. It was everybody except for one person's first time playing. So it took us quite a while, but it was
more than like 45 minutes.
Yeah,
we had a bet running, Tiffany and I did. So I think I won that bet about how long it took.
I do believe that it will get faster the more plays you have, but for our first play, it was very long. But it was absolutely the game of the con for me. It made you question reality. It made you, it got different people talking. Like, I am not a social deduction person. I don't like social deduction games. I don't like having to defend myself. I don't respond well to being put in positions where I need to defend myself. But it just so happened in this game we were playing with Eric Little, and he is apparently a terrible bluffer. And so the very first round of the game, I walked up to him, and we were standing with another friend of mine, and I looked at Eric and I was like, so which one of these roles are you? And Eric walked over and he pointed to the washerwoman and he said, I'm the washerwoman. And I looked at him and I said, that's a hell of a lie, Eric, because I'm the washerwoman. And that was the very first conversation that I had of the game. And so round 1, we come back and sit down, and it's like, okay, people share what you've learned. And I'm like, I learned something. I think Eric's a bad guy because he told me a lie about what his role was. But then the whole rest of the game I became this linchpin of like this information that I had turn 1. And it turns out I had faulty information because I got poisoned round 1. So we were going over on what I was saying the whole time, and it wasn't even good information. And so the bad guys ended up winning our game. It was, everybody felt betrayed and lied to, and just, it was awful. Eric had to sleep on the couch because he was one of the bad guys, and he was the one that poisoned me.
Are you saying you got everybody killed?
Except for myself, everybody except for me.
Oh, then it's fine.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
their problem.
Didn't die. But yeah, that was my favorite game of the con. I'm so looking forward to playing again. I'm a little disappointed because I know that we're never going to really recreate that con experience with we had 3 different of my, like, I had people from all over the state of Florida that I can never get these groups together. Like I could just never organize this. And I had all these people together, some of my favorite groups across the state. And I just got to play with all these people that I love. And it was just such a unique con experience. I absolutely loved it. It was definitely the highlight of the experience for me.
That's funny. So Clover and Blood on the Clocktower are very different games. One is really
both social.
short, one is really long, one is teams, one is cooperative. You know, like, I mean, there's a lot of different stuff going on there. But yeah, I mean, you could say they're both party games. You know, I guess you could say that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and she just touched on some. There's a lot of benefits and fun things about a con, but the real crux of what makes it great is just a group of people always available to play a board game that you want to play. That's you can't buy that with money. So that makes a con worth every dollar.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
All right, Erock, I saved you for last because I figured you'd talk about like 15 games or something.
Oh, you know me so well, Steve.
His
Thank
looking forward to list was 27 long, and he told us each one of them.
you. I have 2 top 10 lists for my 2 favorite games. All right, so first off, I have a tie for first. I had 2 games that really stood out to me throughout the course of the con. My first one is Blood on the Clocktower. I thought that was fantastic. It was so good. Like, it's almost like my surprise of the con, how much fun everybody had playing that. I mean, there were people, like, when we gathered people together, you could tell there were people in this group that were kind of like, well, here I am. We're doing this thing. But 3-4 rounds into it, man, everybody was engaged. Everybody was, I mean, even when you die in this, you're not out. You still keep participating and talking and throwing ideas out there and stuff, which is probably the real genius of this game, is just keeping everybody involved the whole time so that nobody just, gets killed the first round and walks out and that was their game. Doesn't work that way. Everybody can still be in it. Even ghosts get one more vote, which can sway the whole thing. It was a fantastic experience. Yes, I was the poisoner. Yes, I was very successful. At one point, like 75% of the way through it, it was so glorious from my perspective because literally, like, everybody in the group was like, I feel like we're all drunk. I'm like, yes, exactly.
Drunk is a thing in the game, by the way. Not
That
just...
is a thing in the game. Drunk means, in the game, it means you're not getting right information. Basically, it's the same thing as being poisoned. Basically, one of them's basically a character, and the other one is basically somebody doing it to you. It was me doing it to you, is what it was going on there, and it was just fantastic. Like I said, even the people that were really hesitant at the beginning, by the end, everybody was like, "That was so much fun." People yelling and recreating the whole thing, and just going through the whole thing. I know that Blood on the Clocktower people are kind of annoying with their "this is the greatest game in the world and why do you ever play anything else?" But it's a lot of fun. I get it, I also am a bit disappointed we didn't get to play it more than once, but I mean, that's the con, man. What are you going to do? We're going to get to disappointments here in a little bit, but this is going to basically ring true for mine. It's just how many things I wanted to do that I didn't actually do. And it wasn't like I sat around watching TV or anything. I was in the con playing games, and it's too short. We need like a month.
There's a group in Orlando that plays 4 hours of Blood on the Clocktower every week.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Tiffany got a hold with some, her name was Mandy. She was fantastic. She's an official runner or whatever, and she was kind of honing her craft with us, so she was going to do it at Origins, I think she said. She was fantastic. She spent longer, all right, Steve, she spent longer getting us comfortable into the game than our initial estimate of the game. You know what I'm saying?
Your initial estimate of the
Yes,
game.
our
not
initial
mine.
estimate. She spent about an hour just getting everybody, because out of the 14 people, 13 of us had never played before. So she spent a long time just kind of going over things, making sure we were comfortable in what we were doing, which, you know, was kind of a little bit boring doing all that. But at the same time, it really set us up to really be able to play this game. She was absolutely fantastic. I totally appreciate it. I very much look forward to getting a group of 8-ish of our friends together so I can try my hand at running it and showing them a good time.
Hey, I mean, nothing sucks more than when somebody throws you into the deep end of a social deduction game and it's like, what is that rule? What does that do?
Yeah.
Or you're the bad guy and you're supposed to pretend you're something else, but you don't even know what the other things are, you know, like, so, hey, spend an hour getting into it. That's fine with me.
Absolutely. Totally appreciate it. So
It's
so
a
yeah,
lifestyle game, so that hour is necessary up front, but it pays off in the end.
agreed, 100%. And then the last day of the con, after I took Jacoby to meet his dad and took Babe to the airport, I drove back to the con. And I wound up playing a game with JJ that was really high on my list going in, and I just didn't get there. And JJ said, "Hey, we got one more spot for Darwin's Journey. Do you want to play?" And I was like, "Yes, I want to play." And Darwin's Journey was awesome. I really, really liked it. This is another one of those way different games. Blood on the Clocktower is a huge social stand up, yell at each other, try to figure everything out. Darwin's Journey is very much a Euro game. And I thought it was great. I thought it really did a great job of being intricate and involved without being dense. Obviously, it takes a little, takes a couple of turns. The teach was a little bit because there's all these different things going on the board regarding, Darwin's journey to the Galapagos Islands. So, you got to like move the boat. You're supposed to keep up with his boat, but you got to move the boat and you drop off explorers on the different islands. And then you got to like walk those explorers through the islands to find different things. And when you do find things, you like send them to the museums to be researched and published and whatnot. And there's this whole thing going on with all of this stuff. It really works well together. It feels complete. We had a fairly decent teach and a complete lack of advice, which really hurt JJ at the beginning because the money's tight at the beginning. And it would have been nice to get a little warning. If you spend all your money and don't have a way to make it, you're going to hamstring yourself for a while. And it did.
Like in Jet Set.
Right.
And I don't think JJ ever recovered from that. It was just so devastating because, at one point, we're both in like the second round going, so how do I get money? Because we were both completely broke. Fortunately,
I have
was
the stats
able
here.
to.
It says that the winner had 200 points and JJ had 44.
Yeah, I only had 152, but I was still the winner. I was able to kind of turn it around and kickstart things. It turns out that some of the things that I did to make myself broke ended up helping a lot later on. But I did spend a good turn and a half-ish just being broke and wondering what to do. But like I said, I was able to put it all together and figure out a path through the whole thing. I think it was I thought it was really good. And I've watched a lot of videos kind of preparing for this because it's still in shrink on my desk, waiting for a possible unboxing, as it were. But a lot of the things that I watched said the base game, which is the regular game or whatever, is pretty good. But then on the other side of the board is a built-in expansion, and that's fantastic. So now I feel like, now I really want to play that expansion. I want to experience that because the base game was really good, and I had a lot of fun playing it. So those are my 2 games that were my favorite.
I talked about 3.
I'll probably have a long list later on.
It always concerns me, included in the day one launch expansions. That always concerns me a little bit. It's very hit and miss. But let us know how it goes.
I agree, but this one's weird. It wasn't like, oh, by the way, we're slapping on an extension. Like they printed both sides of the board. One board is the base game, and the other side is the expansion. So this was clearly all planned from the beginning. I don't even know why they call it an expansion. They should have just called it like base game and advanced game. Really?
Yeah,
if you're gonna do
basically.
that.
Second map is really, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it does sort of give them the option of printing a cheaper version later, maybe without the extra
Yeah.
stuff.
Yes,
don't know.
that's true.
But all right, so those are the best games. Now let's talk about some disappointments. Sadly enough, I probably could make a longer list of disappointments than games that I really enjoyed. That always happens. Although I did feel like there were more misses this year than normal for me. But I'm only going to talk about two. I'm only going to talk about two of the games. And for me, what made these the bigger disappointments wasn't that they were like the worst games that I played at the con, but just I had such high hopes for the game, and then I didn't end up liking the game that much. And so the first game on that list of mine is World Wonders. So when we were doing the video, I talked about it being the hot games, how it's could be one of those game of the year type candidates. I hadn't played it yet, but like I was just super excited. It seemed like it checked a bunch of the boxes that I normally like in a game, and it's not a bad game. It's just it didn't hit as high as I wanted it to, and that's for a number of reasons, right? So it's a polyomino game. You have a number of actions, and you spend those actions to get these buildings and put them out, or get roads and put them out, and then those might allow you to build a wonder, because the wonders have certain requirements about what they're next to or covering or whatever, and you build those, and the wonders are generally how you get points, so they're points for making sure your buildings are surrounded at the end of the game. And you can take these other things that help you, like towers, and you can take the first player marker or the second player marker. And so anyway, I think right off the bat, the biggest thing about the game that I didn't really like was the turn order. So the game starts, and you just randomly, we were playing a 3-player game, I guess, right? Yeah. And it was like 1, 2, 3, right? Okay. So, and then you put out 3 wonders. And so you can immediately just look at the board and be like, well, one person's going to be able to complete a wonder. Maybe the second person can complete a wonder. The third person is just not going to be able to complete that wonder. And there's nothing you can do about it. You're in third place. You just look at it and you're like, all right, well, the first turn, I won't be able to build a wonder. And that may be that way in subsequent turns too, or it may just be even on the first turn, like, well, I set my board up this way. I put my starting road here, and it's near the river, and you didn't, so I can build that wonder and you can't, right? So it's just sort of randomly what wonders come up, can you build them or not? And it just sort of sucks to be that third person, and then the player order doesn't change. Unless you spend an action to take the player order, you're just always going to be in last. So not only did you get no benefit for being, later in player order, and that, I mean, if you just said, like, here's a point for being third, because most wonders are worth about a point, I think maybe that would be fine, because then, okay, if I can't take a wonder and get that point on my turn, I can spend that action instead, taking the first player marker, and I'll be first in the next turn or something. Like, there may be some balancing things they could do, but it did just feel like, and there was another point where, because I was last in player order, I had to build a wonder earlier. And when you build a wonder, it uses all your actions for the turn. So if you have 1 action left, it's 1 action. If you have 4 actions left, use the 4 actions. And then it's just, so it's like everybody else has sort of had 1 more turn than me, and I'm there, and I could build this wonder, but I have to do it now, otherwise somebody else can build it. So now I have to do it, and so I got 1 less action that turn just because I was last in player order, And then, like I said, and then finally you take the player order thing, but now, who knows how much you got messed up by it. So anyway, but also, it's just like a wonder will be out, and the buildings that you need to build it next to aren't out, or maybe somebody built them but you didn't, but even more often we did just see it was like, well, that building is out, or isn't out, so you can't build that wonder, or it's out but you surrounded it because that's how you score points, so now you can't build that thing next to it or whatever. I don't know, I felt like there were a bunch of point scoring mechanisms, like the surrounding thing, that didn't go together. There were artificial limitations on things like roads, and what buildings were out, and etc. And so it just didn't really click with me. I could see how some people would really like it, and maybe it's just, you know how games with enough randomness, you can just have bad, you can have bad plays of that game. So I was just kind of was like, I was kind of meh on the game, and I was really high on it going in. So
So
Anyway.
I'm gonna jump in here with you because you and I both have the same list for this. I can already tell. And number two, this was my most anticipated game of the con from our last video, and it let me down the most. Some of the things you didn't mention, when someone takes the first player marker, you don't even get the benefit if they're to your right because your relative position doesn't change. So if I'm in third and the person to my right takes the first player marker, I'm still in third, so I don't even get benefit from the randomness of it. It punishes you for doing well because the person that goes last, if there's a tiebreaker, is the one that has more of the statue points, which you want to get. That's you want that for in-game scoring. And then it's a pure tactics game that you have to play strategically, and that's as awkward as it sounds. A wonder can come up that fits perfectly for your build, or a wonder could come up that you can't build in a million years, and there's only 3 available. So if you're not positioned strategically before that turn to be able to put that wonder into play soon, somebody's just going to be able to grab it and go, oh, I just happen to have a blue building that's next to it. None are available in the market for me to buy to even set up for this wonder, and they can just grab it at the end of their turn. So from pure luck, they have really amazing action economy, and they can build a wonder that they don't have to compete for, whereas I could throw every resource I have at the game, and I still can't build it. So there is a lot of flaws with it. The biggest of which you didn't mention, the wonders are actual 3D objects and have to fit on your board in a very specific way. At one point, Steven it's literally 3 pyramids. It probably took up like close to 20 squares worth of real estate in 3 different chunks. And he spent 2 full rounds putting them on his board going, how does this fit here? Where does this go? Before he actually bought the wonder and played it. Because it's impossible to visualize 3 different giant pyramids on your board where you need it to go, where things are going to work without accidentally blocking something. And the 2 rounds it took him to get in a position to be able to actually use it. So
Yeah,
I
wasn't telegraphing what I was doing or anything by grabbing the wonder and putting it on my board. I mean, I think I had it in my head, but it's just so punishing if you screw that up that I was like, I'm just telling everybody what I'm doing and I'm sticking these on my board to make sure they fit. Sorry.
Yeah. So like you said, it's not a terrible game, but a lot of the mechanics just, to me, they don't gel together and they don't go well together. So I think it fell flat for both of us, and we were both really looking forward to it, and disappointment of the con.
Yeah, I would play it again. If somebody wanted to play it, I would play it with them, but I expected to be like sitting at the edge of my seat waiting to be able to buy this game when it was available, and I'm just ambivalent about it now. So yeah, big disappointment. The other disappointment for me at the con, 3 of us, John and this other guy and I were playing a game, and we were playing Dune Imperium. John and I were playing Dune Imperium for the first time, and the other guy had played it a long time ago but didn't really remember how to play, but he decided he wanted to include the Rise of Ix. So we were playing Dune Imperium with Rise of Ix included for the first time, and it sounds like this is also on John's list, so I will send this over to John to talk about.
It absolutely is, and a big part of it's for nothing to do with the game. So we sat down, and it's the big box version of the library. It's beautiful. It's got both expansions in it. It's got a mat. It's got everything you want in a just like very upgraded deluxe game, and it looks amazing. But we had never played the game, and our friend wanted to play it with the Rise of Ix. So I said, you know what? We can do this. We literally sent him off to play another game while Steven and I set this up. And it probably took us 20 minutes to decouple the other expansion from the game because there's no printed rulebook for the big box version. You have to go with the 3 different rulebooks. So it's like, what is this? Which symbol for the expansion is that? Oh, it's the 3 dots? Pull out the 3 dots. Wait a minute. What about this? Probably 20 to 30 minutes of just trying to figure out what components go in this experience. So we finally got that, and then we had to learn from the rule book. But the board is different on the player mat for the big box because it's all the extra stuff included in. So the rule book's literally referencing in picture locations that no longer exist. So we're like, okay, how does this work? So we did that, and then we learned the rules to Rise of Ix, and we got it all set up. And it probably took us a full hour to get ready to play this very straightforward, very simple game. And we played the game, and we were both like, that was it. That's because it's only a 10-turn game at max. At max, you'll get 10 turns. I think we went to 9. But the first 4 turns are your typical first 4 deck builder turns. Nothing is happening. Very slow build up. Basic turn. I bought another card on this turn. Get this. Turn 5, it started going a little bit faster. But for a 9-turn game, we spent a lot of time not doing much, and then it just like accelerated like this, crazy out of nowhere. A bunch of stuff started happening, and then somebody got dreadnoughts, which are an expansion thing, and make combat kind of way unbalanced compared to the base game, which we didn't know the base game meta of like how that should look, so we didn't know what should look like with dreadnoughts either. And it just became this completely unbalanced, difficult, frustrating experience of trying to play what is essentially a pretty simple deck builder. So part of it's our fault for jumping into an expansion both feet. Part of it's the fault of a big box not having any core rulebook together to delineate what you need for what and what's going on. And then part of it was someone came along and tried to help us, but they ended up confusing us even more because they hadn't played in quite some time. And she left the table saying, well, I was going to buy the big box, but I'm not now. So it was just a uniquely frustrating experience. Steven, you want to talk a little more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on the main thing to me, which was that I didn't really start having any fun with the game till round 6 or 7, maybe. The first several rounds were just boring, and I wasn't even sure I was doing anything. I mean, I guess in the end I was. I only lost by 1 point, so I guess I was sort of building it up and doing it right. We were all very close at the end, but it was boring, right? I was like, what am I going to do on my turn? I don't know. I don't have any water. I guess I can get some water that I can use next turn. Maybe I'll move up on the influence track of this thing. It doesn't really do anything, but it'll do something for me eventually, I guess. Maybe, and then eventually, I don't know, maybe I started getting, and then of course there's the random intrigue card, so you never really know who's going to win a combat or not. Like you can be throwing a ton of stuff into a combat and think you've got it and you don't, so that's sort of frustrating, especially if you spend an entire turn basically dedicating to trying to win that combat and somebody's just like, well, I got these cards that I win instead. It's like, well, great. Like you had no way of knowing, right? Because a lot of the intrigue cards don't do that. But eventually I found some synergies. I got that tech that said, hey, if I have a seat in the council, I get some combat. Well, yeah, I mean, but that was part of it though. Like I was the first one to get a dreadnought, and then I went and got that tech that said if I have a seat on the council, I immediately get some combat. I had some other combat things going on, and then I don't know, what was it? Was it a tech card or something that the other guy drew, and it was just like, oh, your dreadnoughts are worth triple or something.
No, and this is why deck building is my least favorite mechanic. It was just a random card from the market that's just like, hey, your dreadnoughts are now worth 6 more power. And if you've ever played the base game, 6 power is like a third of a total score you can expect. That single card gave him 6 power, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's just if he played that card that turn, plus 6, and the dreadnoughts are worth 6 itself. So just from expansion stuff, he was able to get enough power for that combat to almost beat what you could typically expect from the base game. So and like you said, he got a tech that gave him a lot of power. I never got my dreadnought because I didn't have money and ready to go to that spot at the right time. And then one time I didn't have the card, like I wanted to go there, I didn't have a card that would send me there. So for such a complex war game, and you're relying on the cards you draw to give you the stuff you need, I found it very unbalanced.
Yeah, if we didn't have all that set up and all that learning time, and if there was some sort of like quick start that started me on turn 5 of that game, I think I would be a lot more interested. But yeah,
I'm like over here getting mad. I adore that game. I think it's fantastic.
I mean, I like Dune,
that was
but
not the way to experience that game, man.
The first 4 or 5 turns were boring. It was just like, maybe I'll buy one card from the market. Maybe I'll get some water.
We definitely acknowledge we made a mistake. Trying to learn the expansion at the same time.
Are you on our side, Tiffany?
Not with the game. The game's overhyped. But learning from a big box and learning the expansion and say, I'll never do either of those things again, that set us up for failure, even if it wasn't a bad game, which it is. How does that make you feel, Eric?
It's great. It's awesome. It's probably in my top 10 of all time.
It's the number 8 rated game on BGG right now of all time.
It's really good. That's just a really bad experience that you guys had.
And that's possible. One game of something, you can have the worst experience from an amazing game. And going in, we were already in a little bit of a bad mood from all the frustration. So it's entirely possible that we got a bad knock, that we were in a bad mood, and if we played it again, things would fall into place and we would love it. But it's unfortunate with board games. A lot of the times, one play is usually enough to sour you on an experience. And
That's 100% true.
Yeah.
Unless you're the one that invested the money in it, you're not going to take a second play in it. Exactly.
And you know, that's why it hit the, you know, high on my biggest disappointments, because everybody says this game is great. It's really highly rated, but my one experience with the game, it was not good.
best part is I own the game, and I do not like it.
Oh, your wife loves it.
My wife loves it, so it's worth having because she'll keep playing it, but I will not be joining.
All right.
I'll force you guys to play.
So
I mean,
let's go to
you-
Erock's biggest disappointment of this video. Erock.
You wouldn't have to force me, right? If you showed up at my front door, knocked on the door, and said, "Hey, man, we're playing Dune Imperium," I'd be like, "All right, let me make some space on the table," right? Like
That's funny.
I'd play it
because
again.
one time
After
I
he
did
called
just
the
show
cops.
up at your door.
That's right, you did.
Yeah, if we were
You're
somewhere
like,
and three
we're not
of the
filming. I'm like, oh, I guess I'll go home then.
I just got lost. If 3 out of 4 people wanted to play, it's not like a miserable experience. It's a typical deck builder with some flair. If people showed up and they're like, "Let's play this," I'm like, "All right, whatever." But when
Yeah.
you combine the hype of the number 8 of all time on BGG with how much people love it, and that experience, I can't see eye to eye with those people. I do not understand.
Well, you know, not everything's for everyone.
Yeah.
That's 100% accurate. And at the same time, it absolutely rewards multiple plays because you really get a feel for what's going on in the game, the flow of the game, the cards and what they do, the relationships between all of this and how to work those synergies. So, you know, and I feel like my experience was great because I had some really basic experiences with it and then slowly moved through expansion. You know what I'm saying? So, you know,
Yeah.
not everything's for everyone.
Well, to be honest, I'm not that big of a fan of deck builders, so you know,
Same.
already I was off on the wrong foot. But
It's no my life.
Martin's like, "Hey, man, we're playing Dune." Slam the door. You show up at my house. Slam.
I will say I love deck builders, and that is not enough to save Dune for
Oh,
me.
wow.
I don't think there's really anything wrong with Dune. I just find it incredibly boring. It does not feel compelling. I don't really feel that tension from one turn to the next of, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to pull off this awesome plan that I've got going? You know, I don't feel that. I will play because Babe loves it, like he said, and you know, it's fine, but it's certainly not one of my top.
Yeah, but to be fair, I think you're really not a fan of the combat.
Well, yeah, but you don't have to do a lot of combat. You can
No,
just
you
do
don't,
a
but that's
little.
like half the game. Like they're
Yeah.
vitally important to get those points or at least challenge for those points.
Yeah.
You cannot
Yeah.
let someone just keep winning those combats over and over again, or that game will be over in 5 rounds and you're sitting there going, "Well, that sucked." You know, and again, I'm
Yeah,
not
it's
I'm not
over
trying
in
to be
4 rounds.
defensive. I'm just saying, not everything's for everyone.
Yeah,
Babe
I
doesn't
mean-
like the combat that much. You know, I think it makes a really awesome package altogether.
I mean, one round I spent, you know, my couple of actions and some cards and everything. I don't know. I had like 17 combat or something, and you know, he just played some cards or whatever, and I lost, and I got second place, so I got what, like 2 water or something. It's like,
I
oh,
don't-
goody! I spent all this stuff and I got 2 water
Yeah.
that round.
I feel like
I
that's
like-
just bad luck.
I like combat games, but I don't like combat games where someone can go, "Oh, you activated my trap card. I have 17 more power than you thought because I have a card hidden in my hand that says I do." And I said, "Let me see that card," and then I throw that card away. Just like Blood Rage, just like Scythe, this game as well. I don't want to have to fist fight you if you've got a knife in your back pocket that I don't know about. And I think that's ultimately what led to the problems. It's just like, I throw everything I have at it and I lose by 10 points just because he drew the right entry cards, where mine's talking about get a bonus point if you do this one thing at the end of the game. Well, I want to win combat. Give me a knife. And it doesn't give me that knife.
Nice. All right. Well, I want to hear what disappointed Tiffany about the con.
I have to start by saying I'm not surprised. This did not come as a shock to me. Being the person that I am, I love deluxeified games. I love very cute games. Like that's not a secret. So
Oh,
when
I know what
see
you're
a
gonna
very-
say.
So when I see a very cute, very deluxeified game, it has my attention instantly, and it does not have to work very hard to get my dollars. Like all it really has to do is deliver a game that I could arguably get to the table like once a year, and then I'm happy. So let me just say, like, I get that I like the deluxified, I like the cute, you know, like, but I still require a game be there. I still require that it be fun. I got to play Flamecraft. And as I was sitting down, a friend of mine that is in my game circle goes to my friendly local game store. He was walking up as we were sitting down, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is the best game ever. I just bought all 8 copies at the store because everyone I play with loves this game, and I'm giving it to everybody for
True
Christmas."
story.
Yeah, true story.
It's something Erock would do. He's done it.
So my initial reaction, hearing that my local game store has been bought out of this game that I might like, I panicked because I was like, well, where the fuck am I supposed to buy one? Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to say that. Where am I supposed to buy one if I love this game? So I immediately went on the Game Steward, where you can buy unopened new copies of kickstarted games from the Game Steward. So I went on Game Steward to see if they had a copy, because I was like, I need this Kickstarter edition if I love this game. Played the game, and it was terrible. It was so boring. There was no game there. There was no game. It was you look at the cards in your hand, you look at the spaces that are available, you choose the one based on the one that matches the card in your hand or that gives the resource that you need, and you go there and you do that thing, you get that resource, and then it's the next person's turn. And you do that until the game is over, and you might complete some objectives, but it's not that exciting. And you might do some embellishments, but really that's not that compelling. And there just was not a lot of game. I did not feel compelled to do anything other than my little end game objective, you know, like, so I just kind of worked on hoarding one resource type because I got extra points for having the most resource of that type. And it was just boring. And we packed it up, and I was like, well, at least I marked it off my list, and I don't
just
have to
saved
worry about
$150.
Yeah.
Sure did. There was no game there. So at the end of the day, I just want everyone to know I've got some kind of credibility, because yes, I do love cute stuff. I can be bought with shiny components that are heavy and clink when I hold them in my hand. But at the end of the day, if there is no game there, I still won't buy your product, because, you know, I just, there's no reason to ever play. Even my 13-year-old would not have liked that game. He would have been like, Mom, what are we doing? I will tell you, I did buy an upgrade pack to a game I don't even own, because the upgraded components were so cute. They were little wreathfuls at the All Play booth, and I wanted to make a little Christmas tree with wreaths on it. But I will spend some money on some frivolous shit, but I am not buying Flamecraft.
Wow.
That's the first overproduced but doesn't deliver on the gameplay Kickstarter game.
Oh, yeah, clearly.
Yeah, exactly.
Nominally.
I'm going to tell you, though, we are going to catch so much flack for this video. Dune Imperium, Flamecraft, Wait, who's next? Wingspan sucks. There's no strategy in Teach You. Why play it? You know, like, what?
Ticket to Ride? What? For the record, I love Alan Moon. That was a joke.
Yeah.
Flamecraft, though, what I hate about Flamecraft is somebody will get a turn that looks like they're carrying their winnings home from a slot machine in their shirt, and then I'll go and it's like I get one meat, and it's like, what is going on?
Yeah, it was just not.
Well, we played more than one game like that too, John, right?
Yeah.
All right.
We need a supplemental list to this list.
Yeah, right. All right, Erock. What do you got, man?
Okay, so here's my big long list of things.
Your disappointments?
I want to. Yes, my disappointments. I want to address some things real quick, just before I even start on my own thing. There were a lot of people that complained about a lot of things at this convention. I think it's a lot of people who weren't there last year, because pretty much it was exactly like it was last year. And these are probably people who weren't there last year, but went to all the DTCs when it was being run under different management. And it's just different than it was then. So I didn't think it was disappointing at all as far as the con goes.
I didn't think it was disappointing, but there were some differences, noticeable
There were
differences
some
from last year.
There are differences, yes, absolutely. I know some people got butthurt that the library closed at midnight. I mean, I didn't check out a game after midnight, so I don't care.
Oh, come on, man! It's just like, well, that problem doesn't affect me, so it's not a problem.
Well, come on. But, I mean, I get it too, because what are you going to staff 8 hours when there's 3 people in there trying to play a game? I get it. You know what I mean? People complain that there's not a lot of shows and they didn't do any. Well, they didn't do that last year either. That's not.
I think the problem is they didn't get ahead of it and announce these things.
Yeah,
I think if they'd have said ahead of time, it was a communication. It's not a huge deal. Like, I was a little sad about no shows and the library thing. We may do. There's no reason to just like completely get upset about it, but they could have communicated a little bit better, kind of gotten ahead of a few of these things, and I'm sure they will next year. Like you said, it's an evolving con. This is only the typical second year of Dice Tower East, so there is some growing pains, but come on, guys, roll with the punches. We're all still having a good time. Let's provide constructive feedback.
Yeah, I mean,
still a fantastic experience.
To
it's
me,
my vacation.
Buy a ticket to come to this con to play games, and anything else is just fluff, right? Anything else,
100%.
If there's something else that you can do and enjoy, that's bonus, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we went back 100%. We went back to the room and argued about books for an hour once. Just have some fun experiences.
Well, you have to eat dinner. Come on.
That's true. That's true.
That was dinner.
I just wanted to start by throwing that out there. I had a great time. I go to play games for a week. I try to get as many games played as I possibly can. Yeah, in the old days, I used to go to a show here or whatever, or a giant Wits and Wagers or something, but it's fine. I just go play something else now with my people, so I just wanted to address that. Tops on my list of disappointments, I agree with Babe 100%. I did not like Flamecraft. To be completely fair, I did not expect to like it at all, but that's not necessarily something that's a self-fulfilling prophecy with me, because if you watched our video a couple videos ago, I was blown away by Thunder Road. I thought it was fantastic, and I was prepared to hate it. I wasn't just like, I don't think I'm going to like this game. I was like, fine, if that's what you want to play, then I'll play, because it's your house, and I'm your friend, and it's your only night this month that you can, but fine.
And I want to have something to complain about later.
Exactly. And when we were done, I was like, that was so much fun. So, I just want to say that just because I may have like an inclination towards a game doesn't mean it's going to pan out that way all the time. That's why we play things, so, but yeah, Flamecraft was so boring. It was so boring. There's so little to do in that game. And then just about the time you're like, all right, if I go here, I can get the 3 things that I need. And then right before you, somebody plays a purple dragon and switches the dragons out, and now you can't get the stuff you needed anyway. It's like, come on, man. Then
they're not trying to mess with you. They're just like, I guess I got to switch something. This card says to do it.
Exactly.
They do it.
They're not. They're just like, well, this one switches things. I guess I'll switch over here. And that just ruined my whole turn. Come on, man. And there wasn't enough. Like, you couldn't mitigate anything that happens. It's not like, all right, so in really good games, people get in your way. People screw up what you're doing. But there's always something else to do. And I feel in this, there just wasn't anything worth doing if it wasn't the thing that I mostly was trying to do. It was just, well, they screwed that up. I guess I'm going to get 2 meats and a bread now and pass my turn along.
There's usually an opportunity cost too. If they're taking something from you, they've had to give up something else. Here, they're just like, oh, did I move the dragon? Or did I take the space that you really needed just because it was what's available? They stumble into it, and you're like, I've been waiting 7 turns to get to that spot. And they accidentally took it. And they're like, oh no.
I agree. 100%. I don't know. Maybe it's that we're just more advanced gamers as far as it goes, but I just found it very boring.
You're pretty clever and handsome.
Oh. Thank you. Indeed. So I agree with Babe on that one. I have a couple of more disappointments I want to talk about. First of all, I am disappointed in myself. Because there is a game there.
Oh, we can all agree. Yeah,
disappointed in Erock.
Because there was a game on the hotness called O Bomb Do Video Game. I should have played that game, but I said it looks so stupid. And the last time I said that was Thunder Road, and it turned out like I just had a great time. Plus, I didn't really understand what it was about until we got home, and I watched not much. I tried. There's like 50 Portuguese videos, and there's like nothing in English on this. But what I did gather is it's a game about playing video games in the 90s. And I was like, oh, because I really like Millennium Blades, which is a game about playing a collectible card game. So now I feel like an idiot. I'm like, oh, man, it was right there. You should have played it while you had a chance. So I'm kind of disappointed in myself for not throwing it out there. But this kind of rides along. I kind of mentioned this before. In general, I'm just disappointed in the things I didn't get to do. And again, I was not sitting around doing nothing. It's just you don't have enough time. There's not enough time. We would need a month con to really sink our teeth into all the things I wanted to do. I wanted to play all the hotness games. We played one. I wanted to play all these games with my friends and these different groups and people I've met and you guys, and we ended up playing like 3 games together the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so frustrating. You know, you have all these grand plans.
Verflicht. That's life.
Yes.
Life.
So
That's
I
life.
want to bring something up. I think we all forgot about this. There's only one game that we all played together, the 4 of us, and it was a disappointment, and that is My Little Everdell.
It wasn't a big
Well,
disappointment
and
because
Valbara.
I don't think any of it. Oh yeah, we played Valbara
Well, so-
too. Yeah,
Valbara, which one is that?
the Libertalia Light.
Oh.
I didn't play that one with them. I haven't played that one the whole time.
Yeah, you did. That's the
you
one
did.
where you
We
have
played
5
it
criteria
Oh,
and the different numbers.
Yes.
and-
That one was fine. I forget about that. It was forgettable,
was fine.
but fine.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
good point. This is probably a collective disappointment was My Little Everdell.
Yes. So
Yeah,
the reason
no,
we
not
played it,
really though, because like none of us were actually expecting it to be good.
because we were disappointed in you for not liking Everdell. And we said, you know what? Maybe there's a version of Everdell that Steven will like. We were trying to get you to have some taste in board games, a little bit.
Truth. He
To
speaks
like
truth.
something good instead of being a curmudgeon. And I was not hoping it would be an amazing game.
I would rather play My Little Everdell than Everdell.
You'd rather get punched in the face than play Everdell.
Well, yeah.
But I wasn't hoping it would be an amazing game, but I was hoping it would be a game that you enjoyed, to be like, yeah, at least I like My Little Everdell. But they stripped all the Everdell out of Everdell. All the parts that
It was
you like, all the
close.
parts that make it unique, all
It
the
was
parts
close.
that are... It was close with all the missing stuff that I love about Everdell. It distilled it down to a game nobody can like because it's basic and
It was
boring.
so basic.
It
yes.
needed
I
some
go here and
combos.
get one thing.
It did need the combos.
It needed the combos, and that's if it had those, I think it actually would have been a pretty good game.
To
Yeah.
be fair, it says on the box like 6 and up.
Yeah.
It's probably great for a 6-year-old. But you know what's really cool is when you can have a game that's good for a 6-year-old that you also enjoy playing. And this is just falls short from the adult standpoint, I believe.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I will say as a person, like I raised my son on tabletop gaming. The moment he could recognize superheroes, we were playing DC Deck Builder. And I would read the text to him and he would recognize the numbers and we would get out our counters and we would compare 4 versus 5 and who won the battle. Like, I mean, I'm telling you, as soon as my kid was capable of comprehending tabletop gaming, I started introducing Carcassonne and like all sorts of different games. I don't think there would have ever been a place for My Little Everdell in our repertoire because you just don't need it. I mean, it's cute if you are like me and you just want to buy the cutest stuff, the best looking stuff. You want to have all the games, cover every niche, every opportunity, so that if the situation comes up, you've got the game. Sure, buy My Little Everdell, but I don't even know that I would necessarily. Maybe if you really want to teach your kid worker placement and
Yeah,
like,
if you want to teach them worker placement, but you don't want them to have fun, this is the game for you. And Erock bought the wrong building and stole my thing right before the last turn of the game and ruined my perfect game, and I'm still mad about it. Still.
Oh well, then it was worth it.
What are you going to do?
Then it was worth it.
He flamecrafted me. He just backed into it by accident and broke my heart.
All right, Erock, did you have any other disappointments?
That's probably my major disappointments for the week as far as it goes. You know how it is, little things here and there. This game wasn't quite what I thought it would be, yada, yada, yada. But those are probably the only ones really worth mentioning and bringing up, unless we have another hour and a half for me to just go off on my
Well,
diatribe.
I'm gonna ask you all now because I did want to talk about biggest surprises, and I have some things to say there. But we've been at this for like an hour or something. If you want to call it, or we could just keep going. Call it or keep going.
Let's talk about our surprises.
All right. Well, so the biggest surprise for me is more a category of things, and that is there are a lot of games that are getting really good buzz and praise, and they just seem to me to be poorly balanced. So I talked about World Wonders. We played Starship Captains, which it felt like you had to focus on getting tech. And I even tried that. Like I upgraded a guy to a tech commander first so I could take 2 tech cards. And I, never played the game before, so I haven't seen the whole deck of tech cards. And only some of them are available. So I take a couple of them. And then the ones that come up are just like clearly far superior. And now the other people can take them. And I'm like, what? That feels unbalanced to me. We played On the Rocks, which, obviously has a bunch of randomness to it, but that didn't feel balanced. John, Valbara even felt a little unbalanced because like in the Libertalia games, everybody has the same cards to start with, and that's sort of the fun of the game, like who's going to play what when. But in this one, it's just sort of a random, it is a random card draw. You do eventually play all the cards, but at least for the first 2/3, 75% of the game, you have no idea what somebody else has, right? And so it's sort
You
of
don't have that Libertalia strategy of like, I think Erock's going to play the 7, so I'm going to play this. It's just like, oh, this effect seems like it's pretty good. I'm going to take that. And I'm going to get the red card. Oh, the red cards are a trap. They're terrible. I lose the game. And second, how dare you mention On the Rocks to me? How dare you?
I just because you're here, I felt like I had to mention On the Rocks. But
it's the first time that it was an overproduced Kickstarter with little to no gameplay.
Yeah. No, but but these are all games that I've seen really good positive reviews from several people, and they're fairly well reviewed by the masses, like their overall rating, so, and I'm just like, I play them, and I don't know if I just have a bad play of it and that's an anomaly, but it seems like, wow, this is just not very well balanced. There's stuff you need to do, and that may just not be there for you, and too bad, you should play again. It seems to be the idea, and I'm like, well, that's fine. Maybe if I owned the game, and I only owned a handful of games, I played a bunch of times, and having a bad play every now and then wouldn't matter, but I don't know. I got a lot of choices, and the first game of this one I play is bad because it just didn't seem balanced to me. I don't want to play it again. And I feel like there's more of that now than there used to be. And I don't know if that's just me or what, but I don't know. Just that's my biggest surprise. I am surprised at how flat some of these games fell just because they don't feel balanced to me.
So I got a quick surprise. My surprise was how few games seem to blind play test / write a good rule book. And because in a lot of times in Dice Tower, like you said, just go with the moment and play stuff. Steven and I probably grabbed 10 games minimum where we just sat down and said which one of us wants to learn the rules this time. And then we read the rule book as we set stuff up. And there are so many times where we're asking basic questions and it's not covered until 2 pages later in a small yellow box as an aside with a different mechanic. If you have people blind play testing these games and asking questions, you should easily be able to pinpoint where the rule book needs a little bit of shoring up or where this information should maybe be in 2 places and things like that. But learning games from the rule book, and even after, 30 solid years of, board games being more streamlined and mainstream, we still have rule books that have no business being printed like they are.
Agreed.
Although I'm also not surprised.
Well, it was just I was hoping we were making progress on that, but I'm surprised that we have made none.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull an Eric and say that because I don't ever have to read rule books, that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
It's not a problem anymore. It's
Rodney Smith is gonna make a video for every board game ever, so we don't even need the rule book.
Right, exactly. We're already here talking about Dice Tower Con, so I'm not gonna, break our just got played rules too much here, but I was watching one of their videos, and Camilla actually said something that she was very disappointed in having to look at BGG constantly. And yes, That absolutely resonates with me. Why do I gotta go to BGG to find the clarification to these rules? Why do I gotta go there to get a player aid? You know, this has nothing to do with the con. But you know what really annoys me? Mosaic is a giant game for 6 players. It comes with 2 rule books, 3 player aids. There are 6 people that can play this game. 2 rule books, 3 player aids. Where is the logic in some of this stuff? I don't even understand.
I feel like I can make a career just out of consulting on rule books and fixing major issues that should be caught well before it's sent to its final print, and it just doesn't seem to be happening. And like I said, the reason it's con specific is because, especially Steven, Erock, and I, we spent a lot of time going, hey, this looks neat. I didn't know this existed. Let me read the rule book. That was a mistake. Yeah. That's why I love the Dice Tower content, because so many times I went to play a game and I pre-watch a lot of the videos and the stuff that I want to watch from Dice Tower, and I go, wait a minute, I specifically remember Z talking about this, and then I see that and I catch things that I would not be able to figure out otherwise because I watch those videos. So it feels like if you go into a game blind, you are at a severe disadvantage.
I agree.
I will not look up, like, I will not Google search a rule while we're playing. I won't look it up on BGG. I just house rule it on the spot. Like,
it feels like
look,
it should be this.
We're playing a game, so this is what I think's right.
Explode my head, man. I'm like, hold on, I'll look it up real quick.
No, that takes too long.
No, he pauses the game,
Yeah.
and everybody sits there and waits while he researches.
I agree it takes too long, but I don't think it's my fault. It's their fault. They should not have cloudy rules, and I shouldn't have to go look up these rules all the time.
Yeah, but a lot of the times, who cares? As long as everybody's playing by the same rule,
Eric cares. That's who cares.
I do care, because I want to play the game that was presented to me. I don't want to make up a game to play.
Sometimes the thing I made up's better.
Yeah, the worst part is you stop and you go, let's look this up, and you look it up and you go, that didn't help at all.
Yeah.
This is still extremely ambiguous.
Sometimes.
Where you're just like, I don't know. Here's what I think they're saying. Here's what I hope they meant. Here's what seems balanced, but a lot of times there's no definitive answer, and you just got to figure it out.
I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but I have real problems with this with kids games. All right, specifically Adventure Tactics.
Oh.
That's a fantastic game. Also, what's the other one with the rats?
Mice and Mystics?
Yes, Mice and Mystic. These kids games that they put out, they're so loosey-goosey. Like, you're just supposed to intuit what they meant with their rules. And they're not. These are complicated things that need explanation, and you don't provide that. So you just leave us out here going, I don't know what to do. And you're right. A lot of that stuff I looked online to find answers, and there was no definitive answer. So then you spend 15 minutes out of the game trying to find the answer, and then just go, well, what you said sounds logical. I guess that's what we're going to do. It drives me crazy.
To credit the designer of Adventure Tactics, if you post the question on Board Game Geek, he will answer it.
Well, good for him, but why didn't he put it in the rule book? Why do I gotta go look?
Yeah.
You know what? Here's another tangent for me. What's that game with the tracks from Stonemaier?
Tapestry?
Tapestry. Someone came up to me like, do you want to play Tapestry? And I said, man, I love that game. I really do. But the player powers are so unbalanced that I just don't want to play more of it and ruin my enjoyment of it because it's just so unbalanced. And they left. And they came back and they said, hey, good news. That errata that we mentioned, they printed it out and it's in the Dice Tower copy as a laminate sheet. And I'm like, all right, we'll give it a try. So we sat down and played it, and I got the Futurist. And I looked at the thing and I'm like, well, that errata doesn't seem like it really slows this group down. This is really one of the more powerful ones. I'll try it. I lapped second place. I lapped them on the score track. And why? The player powers that are not the same are almost never balanced. Stop doing it, please.
No, I like asymmetric player powers,
No.
and you can balance them sufficiently to make a good game. They don't have to be
play
so
test
out of whack. Yeah, you gotta play test it.
It's ruined Furnace for me too. It's possible to do, but I find more instances where they're imbalanced than balanced.
That's true. You can play Furnace without the player powers, and I think it's a better game without them. So
I think the same way for what we were just talking about. I can't
Tapestry.
Tapestry. There are a lot of games that have asymmetric player powers. It's better to play without them because they're just not balanced.
Yeah, I mean, some games it's ingrained in the game, and you can't play without them. But
Yeah, those games I don't play.
So my actual surprise,
Like Dune Imperium,
has nothing to do with games. I was shocked that Ignacy didn't have a room. Ignacy
Oh, yeah.
always has a room. I look forward to that, to go into Ignacy's room and seeing what games he's demoing. And he's such a charismatic character. It's so fun to go and experience his world with him. And I got to see him a few times. I know Steve played Imperial Miners with him, but I was really surprised he didn't have a room. This is almost like one of my disappointments because I look forward to that so much. Just experiencing that whole portal room and his vibe going on and how enthusiastic and energetic he is about his games.
So
And
I don't know if that's him or if that's the Dice Tower Con, because remember, before there used to be rooms and vendors would have rooms, but there's none of that. Not just
this
Portal.
year, but he had his own room last year. That's where we went and played Gutenberg.
Wait, I thought it was the same as last year, Erock.
Yeah, mostly, except for this one thing. Like, where's Ignacy's room, man?
Mostly.
But he wasn't the only one who had a side room last year, was he? Maybe he was, yeah.
There was a few games companies that did, but this is definite feedback that we should give them so they can help improve the experience.
Indeed, yes.
I think it was the con reducing vendor space. Yeah, I don't know. The vendor space seemed like maybe it was the same as last year. I think there might have been more demo table room this year. Board and Dice had like 6 demo tables going because they had the Barcelona game and then like 4 or 5 Books of Time, which I heard Books of Time was good, by the way. JJ.
Yeah,
JJ
I heard
said
that
it was
from some
good.
of our friends too. They said that was really good. It's like a deck builder with 3 decks and binders instead of decks. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, I saw pictures of that. And as a person who loves all things office supplies, I was very excited by that.
Well, Mickey and Rob loved it, so you probably will love it.
I think
The binders actually turned me off. Oh yeah,
Really?
Rick. keeping them
I
in a
didn't sit down and
specific
demo it
area.
because I'm like, that looks a little janky. I could be wrong. I might, just like Erock, he should have played the video game when I might have made a judgment in the wrong
It's
way.
a component that's completely unnecessary, right? It could just be 2 pedestals and you could turn the things.
Yeah,
back
it
and
could
forth.
very
It
well.
doesn't
It's not.
need the metal
It's kind of a
things.
deluxification that appears to be in all of the games. So,
Yeah,
The
yeah,
only
it
gimmick I
is.
like is the tree in Everdell.
indeed. You know, Martin said in the chat, the quiet room being opposite the social deduction room. Yeah, that's an odd choice. I don't.
Well, they
really
know that.
understand.
They know that was a mistake, right? So they've already
they
owned
kind of
up to that.
acknowledged that was an
Yeah.
oversight that they didn't really consider.
You know
I
what
mean-
was interesting to me that I thought was a mistake, but it actually didn't, at least for me, end up being a huge problem was that they had less tables. So I thought that was going to be a problem, but it seemed like everybody was able to find a table. And then when they shut off Saturday night, they shut off not a huge, but a large part of the hall to set up for the virtual flea market. I was like, ooh, wow, now there's even less tables. That's going to be a problem Saturday night. But at least in my experience, I didn't see a problem Saturday night where people couldn't get a table. So.
There were a lot of people got displaced. I know a lot of people went back to their rooms and just had to call it a night because there wasn't the space.
Oh, okay.
I personally wasn't there, but
Yeah, we cut out early Saturday night. Caught up to
I
us.
was a little miffed that they did that because that looks greedy. Like, you're cutting off the player space and like the whole point of the con is to play games. And now you are taking space away so that you've got room for your flea market tomorrow morning.
But it wasn't Tom's flea market, it was the people flea market.
No, they took both nights. From what I understood, from what I was told,
No, Tom's
key
flea
is that
market
it-
was in the Antigua rooms. It was
gotcha.
it was the people's flea market that
Gotcha.
that they cut
Still though,
off part of
like,
the hall for.
I feel like get the convention space that you need and don't double dip. Like, you need to have dedicated gaming space that's there 100%. If you're not going to have a library that's open 100% of the time, at least provide the tables 100% of the time. But people had to leave the room because it was too crowded and it was too noisy and there weren't tables. But that was also a common problem among Friday and Saturday. There were many times I could not find a table in the room. And yeah, you can go off to one of the side rooms, but good luck using a player's wanted sign. Good luck using a teacher's wanted
Rick
sign.
asked about the side halls, and Martin said they were full too. So, yeah, apparently.
Well, it didn't really affect me, so it's not a real problem.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Exactly.
That's what I was saying.
I was
didn't-
asleep, so what do I care?
Yeah, exactly.
I did actually go to bed on Saturday night or Friday night
Eventually.
at some point.
Indeed.
I guess that's Friday night that I'm talking about when they closed off for the virtual flea market. 'Cause it was
Yeah, I
Saturday
think
Yeah.
that's the
morning.
one we're
Yeah.
remembering too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the one we cut out early was Friday night. And Saturday night we just, Saturday night we played pretty late and then went back and had dinner at like 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
So it was Friday night that we heard complaints from our friends that they got basically displaced.
John, you
because
were
of
up
the
till like
upcoming-
3 or 4 Friday night, Saturday
What?
morning, right?
Once it hit about 11 p.m., everyone disappeared. It was like nearly like it was really, really. I'd say like a third of the tables were taken by that point. So like
Oh, wow. All
once it got past that, it was fine. As a matter of fact, the reason it didn't affect me is that we went back to the room for a long time, like 7 to 11 on Friday night. We just dinner had some problems that we were addressing. So I was gone for the time it was a massive problem. So I didn't see that, but I could absolutely see that happening.
I liked the flea markets being early in the morning. The
Yeah.
virtual flea market
didn't.
exchange was at like 9
Put it at
a.m.
midnight.
Well, okay, maybe midnight, but they used to be some of these used to be in the middle of the day, and that was awful because it'd be noon, and I wouldn't want to jump into a game because I needed to meet people at 1 o'clock for the virtual flea market, right? If I can just say, well, that's the first thing I'm doing at 9 a.m., that's the first thing I'm going to do for the con that day. I'm going to go to the virtual flea market, knock that out, and now I don't have to worry, about it intruding on my game time the rest of the day. That was great. So,
And
of course
for the record, it wasn't that bad this year. The virtual flea market meetup. It has been much worse.
it
in
looked
pre-
like it was going to be bad, but it wasn't. And there were things that could have improved, like they opened the doors at 9 for the virtual flea market. That
I agree.
started at
I'm not saying
9.
it's perfect. I'm just saying overall, it wasn't bad this year compared to other years.
I mean, it took me an hour. It took me an
I
hour
don't
to make
know
all my
why.
exchanges.
Why
takes
are they still organizing by BGG name? Even BGG uses your real name now. They should just use the real name for the alphabetizing.
But as the runner, as the person who went looking, like that made no difference.
That's true. We
like-
were a team. I sat at our spot and I doled out to people that we sold to, and Babe ran and got our stuff. And if she didn't have a problem with it, then there's no problem, right?
Yeah, I mean, really, my problems were nothing that they could have helped. My problems were the people that didn't realize they needed to be there at 9.
Well, they're
Or-
working the registration desk at the time of the exchange and didn't mention it.
Oh my, yeah, like that kind of stuff was my problem with the virtual flea market. Nothing that they did. I think that the times are good because they don't affect me. I woke up at 9 I woke up before 9 to be there at 9 so that we could sell. But I liked getting that early start on my day and then being able to go right to gaming after that. So that was
Plus, it only takes an hour. I mean, we had one guy who waited till the very last moment. But aside from that, I mean, we sold 37 games in the VFM, and we were done in an hour. Now, I did make a couple of exchanges here and there before Thursday
Me
morning,
too,
but it was
yeah.
just a handful. It was like 5 things. We still took 3 crates of games, and I mean crates, like big black crates with yellow tops like you buy in Home Depot. We took 3 of those over there and doled it out in an hour. It was easy.
Yeah.
Highly
Martin,
recommend.
Martin made
Sorry,
a good
babe.
point. Martin made a good point. He said, to kind of just jump topics a little bit, he said that one of the common complaints was that there was no Wi-Fi in the convention center. He said, especially when you're going to have games that rely on apps that use data, there needs to be Wi-Fi. And I think that's...
You don't know how expensive that is. I mean, it is expensive.
Have we ever had it before? I don't
No.
know.
Well, yes, DTC had Wi-Fi.
Not at the
in hall.
Carib.
Yeah, at the Carib. You could sign in
Mm.
under Dice Tower 2016 or whatever.
You
and
sure
you
the
got
very
Wi-Fi.
first year? It's okay. Also, that con used to have twice the attendance of this one, which they're limiting on purpose. But
Yes,
I mean,
they're limiting on purpose.
I mean, I've seen these convention charges for Wi-Fi, and it's probably like $10,000, right?
That's ridiculous. Why is it? Why?
But you don't because
same
because
people
it's what's
using
called a captive audience. You don't have a choice. You pay the hotel what they charge, or you don't have it at all. And the hotel charges like
it's
10
just-
grand for that.
It's not like their bill's going up and down. They pay one bill a month.
Yeah, no,
That's
it's
it.
not that they can't charge less.
Capitalism
it's that
for you.
it's just they can charge that much. They've done the math, and X number of conventions will pay X number of dollars, and they know how to
Well,
make the
obviously
most money.
this one ain't paying. So they need
Yeah,
to find a
well,
more
what's
reasonable rate.
what's 10,000 divided by 1,500? Do we all want to chip in that much? No, I don't think
That's
so.
a lot.
I'll put 5
Okay.
against it.
But you know what I would chip in
Go
for?
fund me.
This is my personal complaint of the con. So like everyone's gotten to like kind of talk about their, and this might be shallow of me and I don't care, but damn it, you're going to listen for my 2 minutes. I want the nice lanyards back. I am over the crappy plastic lanyard. The least you can do is provide a nice like printed lanyard that has the logo and the year, so I don't have to keep re-wearing an old nice one from the people who would buy me nice things. I priced buying bulk lanyards and just printing them for my friends so that we could have nice lanyards. They're $2 a pop. And then I would just volunteer my time to make all of the iron-on stuff. But that's what I want. Okay, I'll give up the swag bag. I'm fine without the Wi-Fi. Like, there's a lot of things that I'm willing to compromise on, but I can't have a nice lanyard. Like, come on, give me a nice lanyard.
Yeah. The swag bags were always garbage. They were whatever publishers overprinted and wanted to
I
dump.
I said that too. I was like, we didn't even get any games this year, and I was like, we never really wanted the ones we got anyway.
The Imperial Settlers Roll and Write was good. Was that last year?
No, absolutely not.
Last year.
No, bad game. That is a bad game.
Okay, well, that was the highest quality game in a con bag.
It should not have been a roll and write, or they should have given you like wood and stone and stuff to keep track of. You cannot keep track of that game in your head. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Martin said, why don't they work with the hotel to extend the Wi-Fi? It's the same people. The con and the hotel, it's the same people. They purposefully don't let you log in over there with your hotel room thing. They purposely don't have that over there so that people will buy the expensive convention Wi-Fi. Again, it's captive audience crap. It's why you pay $20 for a crappy bag of popcorn at a movie theater, right? It's captive audience.
This turned out to be a little bit more negative than we were.
Well, we
Yeah,
love
I
Dice
agree.
Tower Con, and we're all going
do.
back, right?
Yeah, I had a great
absolutely.
time, really.
And I don't
I
have
don't
a
complain.
I don't have a problem with any of those things that don't affect me that you're talking about.
It didn't affect me. It's not a real problem.
Yeah,
I-
absolutely. That's
go
why
on
I
the
wanted to
cru-
be clear earlier. I had a great time.
For
I
sure.
played games the whole time with my friends and my family. It was awesome.
This
It
is
was
the
awesome.
of the year, for sure.
Well, I'm going to BGG Con for the first time in the fall. So finally I'll have something for comparison because mostly I just, I've gone to Escape Winter, right? I've gone to some local stuff. I've gone to the Dice Tower Cruise. I went to the retreat when it was in Orlando. Cruises are awesome, by the way. And I think the retreat is actually better than the con. I bet the one in the South is even better. Or, well, maybe not even better, but it's just as good as the one retreat they held here in Orlando. But I am interested to go to BGG Con. It's just a completely different set of attendees,
I'd like to go.
Yeah.
There's only so much vacay time, man.
Not
Rick
me.
said-
That's not a problem for me.
Nice. Rick
So
said
I-
he's also going to BGG Con for the first time. It's also his first time in Texas. So
Oh, nice. Wow.
Yeah.
First time in Texas. All right. That'll be an experience. Well, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
when
Uh,
is BGG Con?
November, right before Thanksgiving.
Okay, so you're out of summer at least.
No, it's Texas.
Right?
What are you talking
It's
about?
always summer.
Well, it's not. I mean, I'm sure it's not August. Like, yeah, November is
It's not
bad in
super
Florida
summer, it's just
too, but
regular.
it's not July. It's not August.
yeah.
Yeah, and I go on the cruise every year. I'm an ever cruiser. I go on the con every year. I still had a great time. Just some things that they could shore up on. And again, it's only their second year. They're going to keep making changes. And I've looked at some of the logistics of some of these things, and it is not easy. So, we're just kind of randomly venting off the top of our head, but the frustrations are fresh in our mind. But, we still had a great time. Going to
Had a
go
great
next
time.
year. Looking forward to it.
And
It's
for
all good
those of you
stuff.
out there wondering, the Dice Tower people are really chill as a general rule. They're super friendly. A lot of them will just walk up and ask to teach you a game, like if you're setting something up, or they're just really friendly people. So it's really nice to be around that. I think they foster that atmosphere because that's kind of the whole vibe of the con itself is just super inclusive and inviting and welcoming and warm.
They are great
And,
ambassadors for the hobby.
100%.
Absolutely.
Tom walks around, talks to people. He'll teach you a game if you ask him. Like he pointed me out to a different game that I was asking him about. It's very approachable, really good time. Don't let this video think that we're on the negative. We're just venting a little bit. Still a little tired
Yeah.
from the con. I recommend
Exactly,
going to
yeah.
any of these things 100%. They're a great time.
Yeah,
It was
and
awesome.
you know what? I didn't even mention. How could we go through this whole video? We didn't even mention that we played the charity game.
Oh yeah, we did play the charity.
Yeah,
game.
so the Jack Vassal Memorial Fund, I put an item in there, and I said, hey,
Oh, so that's 3 games we all played. All 4 of us played.
that's right. We played Planet
Planet-
Unknown. Planet Unknown together
Oh,
was
yeah.
the charity game.
Oh, okay. I don't remember you being there, John. Sorry.
I was there.
And John was there. It was
I
the
think
4 of
that's
us
actually
and Barb
started-
and Carl.
And then we just kept playing games after that. Then we went to the card game, and then
Yeah, we chained like 3 of them together.
yeah.
Yeah. But that was great, I mean, they donated money to charity. We gave them some swag and some games and stuff that we had. And, we
had
played
a good
game
time
together. It was
playing
great.
Planet Unknown.
Yeah, and then later, like, John and I were just sitting down to learn and play Caldera Park. And
Good.
Barb was walking by, and I pulled Barb and Carl over. We played another game later, just because, like, hey, we know this. Get over here. We got a game to play.
It's a great place to meet people. There's people that I see every year that I only see at the con.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, it's you. And there was a few this year that weren't there. And I was like, oh, I wonder where this person's at. And
Yeah, like Erock and Tiffany. I never see them except at the con.
yeah.
Yeah, I've got so every year I take cards that I had printed on, I don't even remember what that main Vistaprint or something like that website where you can print like 500 business cards for $2. So like 6 years ago, I printed a ton of cards with my picture and my BGG gamer tag and just like different information on the back. It was my favorite games. And I still have a ton of those cards. And as I meet people, I hand them out and I'm like, hey, let's be friends. I'd love for you to add me on social media. And so I made several friends this year. And like every year I just hand out my little cards and I make friends. And I've got a friend who, where is Felix from? He's from Malaysia.
Yeah, I think that's right. If
Like,
not Malaysia, Philippines.
yeah. I've got friends that come from the UK. I've, friends from all over the United States. And Babe and I, like 2 weeks before the con, started sending out messages to all of our con friends, like, hey, you gonna be there? Hey, you coming? And unfortunately this year, there was a lot of people that didn't come. But that's part of what makes it so great is getting to reconnect with those friends that, you don't usually get to see. And like I mentioned earlier, I have moved around a lot. My dad was in the Navy, so I was raised as a Navy kid. And, we moved around a lot. So I've got a game group that I gamed with for years on the west coast of Florida. I've got a game group that I gamed with for years in Central Florida, and I've got a game group that I've now spent about 8 to 9 years with on the East Coast of Florida. And I was able to get all 3 of those groups together to play games together while I was at the con. And that's such a unique experience. Like you can't recreate that anywhere. And so I will always love Dice Tower East, but just also any groups that really work to grow the board gaming community for Central Florida, I am a big fan of because, as strong as you can make the community, great. The bigger that we can make the community, the better. I think it's such a great hobby and pastime. And I really appreciate the community that Dice Tower has cultivated along with all the other big players in Central Florida. It's such a great experience.
Yeah, I mean, I randomly met some new guy from California who'd showed up before the rest of his group, Sheldon, right? Met him the Tuesday night, and we pulled him into that game of Snowtails. We played that together, and then the next day, what did we just see him there when we were grabbing World Wonders? We're like, get over here! We're gonna play this game now. It was great.
To give a shout out to the Grave Gamer, we met him and have a conversation with him. He's a fellow streamer, as it were. So
Nice.
There were a lot of social media personalities
fellow
there,
streamers and whatnot. Yes,
TikTok and YouTube and who knows.
Everybody's got their own
Twitch.
pot.
Yeah. It's a little tiny pot.
Yeah, play games with several other YouTubers. It's a fun time.
Yeah, cool.
Cool.
All right. Well, anything else? Anybody? Going once?
That about wraps it up. Like I said, I'm just, as soon as it ends, I'm like, all right, can't wait till next year. As far as it goes, we're going to try to go to Game and Party Con, which is in Jacksonville. We went last year. We had some other things going on, so we didn't get to spend a lot of time there, but we did have fun there. It's much smaller con, much smaller. It's probably a couple hundred people there.
I bet you can play Blood on the Clocktower there.
I
don't know.
don't know, maybe.
I don't know that you...
Game and Party Con? Come on. It's got to have Blood on the Clocktower.
Probably a little bit, yeah. So hopefully we'll get to see some of you up there for that. And that's about it. What do you think, babe?
Yeah, I think I said all the things I came to say. There was I don't know, I didn't get to talk about my surprise of the con. So I will just quickly say it was Expeditions, 1920 Expeditions. It was a really great game. They took Scythe. They took all the things I don't like about Scythe out of Scythe, and then they just made a Tiffany approved version of Scythe, and it was all about just resource management and collecting stuff and turning in quests and upgrading stuff, and I loved it. So.
Well, I entered the Stonemeyer lottery for a review copy of that game, so we'll see if we get it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I enjoyed that game too. It's kind of funny about perspective. I'm going to send us off another tailspin here.
Okay.
Somebody came up and asked us about the game as we were playing it, and I said, this is nothing like Scythe. I was like, this is nothing like Scythe. You just kind of go out and do some quests, and Tiffany's right there beside me, and she goes, no, this is all the parts of Scythe I like. I was like, oh. So, it's really about perspective a lot of times, because I just didn't feel like, it had some Scythe stuff. Like it had like the stars in it, and it's kind of a continuation of the art and the world and stuff. But to me, it just didn't feel like Scythe at all. But when she said that, I realized she's right. What they took out was the area control and the fighting. Other than that,
so they took Scythe out.
It's pretty much the same,
Nice.
So,
well,
that was fun.
Rick said more fun than he was expecting was Deep Rock Galactic, which I'm not familiar with.
I saw some people playing that. I was like, I'd like to
try
give
that video
a shot.
game.
You played it?
No, I haven't. I want to try it. It sounds people would really enjoy it.
I've played the Steam version, of course, but so
cool.
That's a giant box.
All right. Well, I will tell you that I am not done milking this Dice Tower Convention cow. I will be making a video where I talk about every game I played at the con, just running down those. I did one of those before, if you want to see those, from Dice Tower Con last year, and the retreat, Dice Tower Retreat before that. I don't know if anybody else is going to get a chance to do a video like that as well, but there will be more content coming as a result of us attending the convention. But until then, I'm Steven, that's Tiffany, that's Erock, that is John, and thank you for joining us.
Bye. See you next time.
Bye.
Thank you, Dice Tower. It was a great time.
Sorry, Flamecraft was so bad.
Yeah. Play Blood on the Clocktower.
Didn't you be at the airport handing out